Hello, welcome back. I'm going to do a bit of a video today and talk about my year of 2022 from not being able to run for 10 minutes at the start of the year to running 2 marathons in 3 weeks in October and November. So in about 8 to 9 months, I went from running, struggling to run between 10 and 15 kilometers an hour to running a sub 3 hour marathon in Athens in November. It was absolutely amazing. It's been a fantastic year. And obviously, I've learned a whole lot myself, and I really want to get some of that information out there for people. So, what I want to go through is a little bit of a disclaimer first. Obviously, I am not a professional runner. This was my first year learning to run the ropes of it, and there's so many do's and don'ts and so many ways I learnt. I'm not a professional dietitian, even though I've lived a life of keto since 2018. It doesn't make me professional. I'm not a training coach or a PT or any of that kind of stuff. I am what I would call a regular Joe. I worked in mining and construction for most of my lifetime. And obviously I played sports and ran, and I was physical and exercised in my younger years. But as a 42-year-old, from this year onwards, I've been running. It's been a whirlwind year. I was the global ambassador for Steppen. When I came home from the Euro trip in November, obviously I retired and stepped back. I'm not going to be forced into sending the wrong message out for a project. And no matter what happens, I'm going to stick by my own morals. So I was very vocal with that and got that very public. But I want to focus on some of the good parts of the year. And I just wanted to get the basics out there. I'm not representative of any project or sponsored by any running brand. Obviously, I love my ASICS shoes. But on saying that, you should really get out and do a lot of research. So understand where you're getting your information from, who they are, what they've done, and how does that help you progress. So what I want to talk a little bit about first is how I managed to have a lot of help this year from subject matter experts. So from runners, from people that I consider friends now. A special shout out to Bryn, Luca, Fire Launcher, and Phil Char. They're all different types of runners, and they've all got different strengths. I learned from Bryn, who's a speed runner, 2:27's his best marathon. I've learned from Luca, who is a great long distance runner, has a world record, ultra runner. Fire Launcher is a journey runner. He's just finished his 81st marathon last weekend. And Phil Char, I haven't had a chance to meet Phil yet. Hopefully 2024 I can get across there for the 11-year highlight in Canada and say hello. But a lot of these people helped me early. So what I want to put that towards is, rather than just shouting out names, is sometimes it's good to get information from a local running club. Maybe you might, if you're really enjoying running, maybe you might think about getting a running coach. These are important things because you need to try to make sure you do things properly, because what might cost you a little bit of money for a coach might save you hundreds of dollars in long-term injuries. So there are some very basic things, and I was lucky enough where obviously the position I filled was for a game that was based on moving and earning. So I got to learn from people in that ecosystem. So it was really, really great. Next topic I want to talk about is one of the reasons that I managed to push myself so hard this year was the fact that I had a lot of time. So during the year, I started my series of Jogging with Barn Dog back at the beginning of January, ran that all the way up until November. And that was up to 5 days a week. Only when I traveled did I not do it. So 5 days a week, anywhere from an hour to 3 hours, I think was the longest one we did. So that was very focused on helping people and learning as well as helping. So a lot of people that would come and talk to me on Jogging with Barn Dog, I just have random discussions with, maybe they would teach me something, maybe they would ask me questions and I would go and research that for them. Maybe they would ask me game-specific questions about Steppen at the time. So that series in itself, Jogging with Barn Dog, that helped me a lot of ways. It helped me with the community. It helped me learn. It helped me reach the floor. There was so many ways, and it also meant that time was being focused into the community. But I could also exercise during that time. Jogging with Barn Dog was physically based around me jogging at the start of the year. And as I progressed through the year, people could hear the differences at the start of the year in January, February. People could hear me jogging. I live in Cairns, Queensland, and it is super, super hot. It's December at the moment. It is hot again. We're talking high 20 degrees Celsius, 26s, 7s, 8s, and it's 80 to 90% humidity. It's super, super hot, but heat training is an actual thing. So I was very lucky this year to be able to train heavily and have that time. A lot of semi-professionals don't have that time because they're doing full-time jobs, they've got families and all of these items. But for me, being the head of Steppen, being the face of it, obviously I got to spend a lot of time exercising as part of it and testing out the game. The gamification, and this is where Web 3.0 really comes in, and what really I never expected such a big change in myself, but to see how the game mechanics. I am a traditional gamer, talking World of Warcraft with multiple screens. I'm talking League of Legends. I'm talking Clash of Clans, mobile gaming. Ever since I was 6 years old, I first saw an Atari and games, computers. I have loved them. Web3 coming out and changing this whole atmosphere, it absolutely excites me. And this is one of the reasons why next year I'll be pushing to stay working within the move and earn industry. I think gamification, educating people, working for a successful company that are out there to build for the right reasons and put the right energy into the ecosystem, that really, really excites me. I've been a crane driver my whole life. Obviously, I got to travel a lot and do a lot of things and meet a lot of amazing community this year doing live events. But I would have made more money if I had have stayed in my occupation of crane driving. I would have made more money, but this year I wouldn't hand it back for anything. It's been an amazing year, meeting people, seeing the running industry. It's now set me out the other end as a runner and a gamer, and I really look forward to 2023. Now, I touched on a little bit, and I will talk about it a few times. I have been a ketogenic since 2018. It was around September, October. I was 110 kilos in 2017, at the beginning of 2017, and I came out of a divorce, a bad relationship, went through a lot of mental health problems, and 2018, I was exercising heavily. I really started about mid 2017, so about 6 months after separation, started exercising heavily. But 2018, I wasn't seeing the results that I really wanted. So I went and explored. I saw a YouTuber I listened to, and he was talking about it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do a bit of research on this. So I've been keto since 2018, and I lost 20 kilos in about 3 months. Now, a lot of people use it for weight loss, but I found the mental health, the cognitive benefits, how I work, shift work, 12-hour shifts, I found that to really suit my lifestyle. So as I mentioned at the start, I am not a dietitian. I don't expect that it is a great diet for everybody. What I talk about, though, is it's about eating real and whole foods. This is something that's really, really important. And if you're going to be exercising, it is a big part and a piece of advice to get out there and look at your diet and lifestyle. Keto, so what does that mean? You are going high fat, low carb, and you fuel your body differently. So does that work for marathons? I ran Lubeck in October as a keto, and it was absolutely annihilated me. It absolutely annihilated me. So my muscles froze up. There wasn't getting enough glycogen, and they just cramped up to the point that I couldn't get any more out of my hammies. I was running from 4 minutes 11 to 4 minutes 50. I just couldn't get any more. If I had have stopped, I imagine starting would have been very, very hard for me. So my exercise regime was running 3 times 25 kilometers every week. That was based on my game in Steppen. I was doing a runner shoe with 3 luck gems and hunting mystery boxes 3 days out of the week. So running 25 kilometers on keto is perfectly fine. And also training at home is a lot different than running a marathon and racing. So my training speed would be anywhere from 5 to 6 minutes per kilometer, But when I started running marathons, I was doing 4 minutes 10 to 4 minutes 16 per kilometer. So there's a big difference between training and racing. And this is where I wasn't prepared for it. So definitely, if you are going to be running something that's a long distance and you haven't run it before, it pays to do this research. Absolutely, like anything, do your own research. Or try to do a long run before you go on a marathon. I'm still training as a keto. I came home after my marathon in Athens and I went straight back onto keto. I'm not strict keto. I just really like the cognitive features and function, and I enjoy the lifestyle. I've got a loving partner, and Tash, she does an absolute amazing job with family meals and makes them, generally speaking, keto all the time and adjusts it slightly for the children. So sometimes we might have a cauliflower, broccoli, rice, and the kids have full normal white rice or brown rice. So for me, on that point, know where you're getting your information from. Just because I'm talking about keto, it doesn't mean you should go and do it. But I love it. I know there are marathon runners that run on keto. I expect, and maybe one day I'll test it. But racing to the speeds I want, I know I need carbs. And you get these things called gel packs. So you get all different types of brands. And these gel packs, they have all types of things in them. And I'm not an expert on these. I use these for Athens for my first time. So some of them have things like magnesium in them, and magnesium's good for your muscle cramps. Now, again, you've got to be really careful. Just because it says, all right, have this, don't go using them untested. Don't go putting things in your body that you don't understand the numbers for. Do that research. If you're going to be going in for your first marathon and you've never used gel packs before, do the research. Maybe do a half marathon and use one or two of them. But you need to understand what you're putting in and the numbers, because you can overdose on some of this stuff. Some of the gel packs have caffeine. I didn't use caffeine in Lubeck. So you can get caffeine strips as well. And there's so many different things that you can get that are marathon additives that you can do. You can get just straight strips that are caffeine. You find somewhere after about 20, 25 Ks, your mind just starts to wander. And you're just jogging along at your own pace, and you're wandering off. Maybe you're listening to music, maybe you're not. And your mind just starts to wander. And then that's when you go, oh, holy shit, and you've slowed down. So that caffeine later in the marathon does play a really, really good part. So again, it comes into researching. A good brand is Goo, for example. I used probably 5 different brands while I was in Athens, and Goo sponsored the Athens marathon. So they actually gave them out, I think at the 30, 35 and 40 kilometer, they gave free Goos. I, of course, had my own. I had my bum pack, and I had no trouble with them. Some people can't take them straight and need to mix them with water. I had mine straight out of the packets. I had different types and all that kind of stuff. So very lucky in some of that. Other things I want to talk about are shoes. Shoes are a super, super important part of running and your exploration through it. Now, I've been ASICS for the last 20 odd years of my life. And it's not that I'm paid for or get free shoes. I did get one pair of free shoes so far from ASICS, the UI series. They did a special GT series, and it was an entry into Solana and crypto and through STEPN and Solana Pay. Mainly, it was an ASICS and Solana Pay partnership, and STEPN did a very little bit of gameplay inside. But it was a good partnership. And why I'm talking about those, the GT 2000s, they are actually my daily shoe. You'll see in a lot of my videos, photos, you'll see these, the GT 2000. These are my daily walking shoe. I've used those 2 pairs, actually 3 pairs now I've worn out this year. They're my main shoe. Now, I also have heavily used the Nimbus 24s, and they are a great long distance running shoe. Very, very comfortable, great for walking as well. One of the other big shoes I've used a lot this year are the Metaspeed Skies. Now, they are a carbon fiber shoe, and they've got that plate, so carbon fiber plated shoe. There's a whole heap of foam in the middle of them. I'd never used them for a half marathon before the Euro trip. So I'd always use the Nimbus 24s. And this is where it comes into, I've been lucky enough to have these people help me out and talk to me about it. Bryn said to me, Barndog, use your Metaspeed Skies for the Amsterdam Marathon. I was worried about it putting too much pressure on my shins and me not being able to recover because a week later I was running my marathon. So he said, no, use your Metaspeed Skies. And I did. So I went from using Nimbus in my previous half marathon that was timed and doing an hour 29, and I used the Metaspeed Skies and did an hour 23. I took 6 minutes off my personal best. Now, I was also sick when I ran my previous half marathon that was timed, but the shoes do make a difference. So why do they make so much difference is with the carbon fiber, and there's two different models of ASICs with carbon fibers. Does that mean you should just use ASICs? Absolutely research many other brands, many other super shoes, and don't just pigeonhole into one. If you want to use Nike, if you want to use Hoka's, there are so many things out there, and I'll show you a YouTuber I watch. But it's got mainly this plate which has the shoe, and you kind of lean forward. So your body is positioned to lean forward, and you run forward. It is an amazing shoe. I've bought the Metaspeed Sky Plus for next year, so the second series of this model, and I will absolutely be getting into it. Now, I'll do a bit of a video later and talk about my shoes in greater detail. I'm not an expert on the shoes. I'm getting better, but I've got so much research to do. I've used a lot of shoes based around advice given to me this year. So the Nimbus 24's Fire Launcher said, try the Nimbus 24s. He also suggests highly the Nimbus 23s. And he is a front runner for ASICS, so an ambassador for ASICS. And he doesn't just pigeonhole and say just use one brand, but he knows the ASICS well and uses them himself. I'm happy with the ASICS. Next year, I'll see. Maybe I might try a different brand. I'm not sure. For now, I'm very, very happy with that. So I'm using the Metaspeed Skies for my race day shoe, and I've just switched over to using the Nova Blast 3s, and they're a really good training shoe. So I've only done one run. I did a half marathon, an unofficial half marathon last night, 21.1 Ks, and raced that in them, and the cushion in them is just amazing. There's a Super Blast shoe coming out, and I've been watching and researching Kafuzi. So he is a runner, and I've watched, you can see there on the feed, I've not watched all of his stuff, but what I like about him is he is a independent. He doesn't get paid. He does get some sponsorships, and he does get donated shoes from different brands, but he talks about the Hoka's, he talks about the ASICS, he talks about Nikes. He did a good video this week, which was about the ASICS Super Blast after 100 miles, and talks about those. They've got a higher stack on them, so they're not an official shoe that you can use for a timed marathon, but they're a really, really good training shoe, and in comparative to a carbon fiber shoe. But then he obviously covers the Metaspeed Skies and talks about those. And you can see Hoka's, he did a video, it's not in this list, but he did a video and compared 4 or 5 different brands of shoes that come in close to the Super Blast, because they're 220 US. My Metaspeed Skies, 330 Australian. They're expensive. Running is an expensive hobby. So you really need to research more, and if it means watching a few videos at night rather than watching a computer game, rather than watching a TV show, do it. Do a bit of research, have a look around, all those kinds of things. So the shoes are a massive part of it, and I definitely recommend spending some time. I've got a couple little ones here. Nothing super professional in my YouTube. I'm trying to get better at this kind of thing. I really want to spend 2023 going into the running world. I'm still a gamer. This is the thing. I'm not a professional runner. I do class myself as a runner now. It was funny. Before I ran my first marathon in Lubeck, I said, I'm not a runner. I like to run. But after that first marathon, for whatever reason, I need to tick it off and get into that. Another great part of this year was learning about park runs. So what is park run? It's a 5-kilometer event run on Saturdays. They're not for profit, so they're free. This is one of the best things about it, is it's free, it's not fully competitive. You can jog, walk, or run. You can go whatever speed you want during these park runs. We had over 120 people today at our local Glenoma park run, and Tash and I volunteered for the first time. So I'm going to run one week and then volunteer the next. Run one week, volunteer the next. I think this is an amazing opportunity that's allowed me. I get white line fever, so I get at the start line and I just want to race. And it's been a great way. I used my Nimbus 24s to start off with, but then I started using my Metaspeed Skies, and all year long I have increased my speeds. So I'll try to get this down a little bit. You can see here with the times. All year long, I have increased my speed. So I did my first park run at the 26th of March. I'd started running more around February. So in February, I was jogging in December, January, and in February, I started running. But my first 5 kilometre run was the Glenova Park run at 23 minutes and 12 seconds. Up until last week, I hit 18 minutes and 4 seconds. So I've taken over 5 minutes off. And you can see age grade. That kind of means for your age, what percentile are you, roughly in. It's not perfect. The timed runs are not to the split second perfect. There's maybe a few seconds variation, I would imagine, in it. But they are a really great way to meet local people. I cannot stress enough how much I've fallen in love with them. The fact that you can meet people of different ages. You see kids, sometimes they have special themes. Next week we've got a special Christmas Day run on top of Christmas Eve. The following week there's a New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. But for me, it's just been an amazing way, and I've strapped on the boots every week, and I go out there, I get up to that line, I approach it at the start, and I give it my absolute best. And it's been a way that I've been able to pace myself through the year. So this goes into setting some goals for next year as well, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But if you don't have park runs close to you, so they started in Hyde Park in England, I believe, and they are very heavy in Europe, but not all countries. I don't think Portugal had them, for example, but Portugal have different races. I don't think the US have them, but they've got different races. So have a look at what your local clubs are. Joining a local club is a great way of meeting random people, locals. Maybe you learn about a club. Maybe you go and have a cup of coffee afterwards with people. I found when we traveled through Europe, we joined the Berlin and the Milan events. The Berlin, they went and had breakfast afterwards. It was a buffet breakfast, and I'm talking high quality breakfast. There was salmon, there was tuna, there was great bacon and eggs. It was amazing, and it was €10 for a buffet breakfast, and you paid for the coffee on top of it. 12, €13 we got out of that. We met some people. We talked about runs. We talked about Europe. It's just a really great charged atmosphere. I know talking to Bryn after their Saturday park runs, they go and have a coffee. He's got a coffee shop in Adelaide there, and they go and have a coffee afterwards. So again, it's a way of socialising with people and having a bit of fun. This is what it is. Don't lose track of what running is. It's fitness, it's fun, it's community. There's all of these kinds of things. I cannot stress enough how enjoyable these have been this year. All right, thank you for getting to the end of the video. It's a bit longer than I thought, so I'm going to make it a two-parter. Smash that like button, and thank you, Mother, for the rabbits.